The jungle was quiet. Only the sound of wind moving through tall alien trees filled the air. The human hermit moved slowly, his steps careful, his eyes sharp. He had lived alone for many years, hidden far away from colonies, hidden far away from war. His hut was small, built with wood, metal scraps, and stones he found in the wild. It was not pretty, but it was safe. Every day he woke with the sunrise. He walked to the river, washed his face, and filled his old water container. After that he went hunting. Sometimes he used his knife, sometimes he used traps. Food was never plenty, but it was enough. He cooked on fire, ate alone, and watched the stars at night. His life was hard, but peaceful. He had once been a soldier. His hands still carried scars. His mind still carried heavy memories. He had seen friends die. He had seen cities burn. He had seen leaders betray. When the war ended, he did not return to the colonies. Instead, he walked away, deep into the alien jungle. Here he chose silence. Here he chose exile. The jungle became his home. He learned its dangers. He learned its secrets. Giant lizards moved in the swamps. Small glowing insects filled the night. Strange birds with crystal wings flew high in the skies. But he knew how to avoid danger, how to survive. Sometimes he wondered if he would die here, alone, but he never feared it. Better to die in peace than to live again in the noise of war. One evening, as the twin suns of the planet began to fall behind the horizon, the hermit sat outside his hut. The air was thick. The forest smelled of wet soil and burning leaves. He closed his eyes and listened to the jungle, the sound of frogs, the whistle of wind, the crack of branches. But then he heard something different. It was faint at first, like a whisper of metal scraping against stone. Then it grew louder, the sound of someone, or something, moving through the trees. His eyes opened, his body tensed. This was no animal, no bird, no wind. This was footsteps, heavy, uneven, closer and closer. He reached for his old blade. The metal was rusted but still sharp. He crouched low, waiting. His heart beat slowly, calm but alert. Whoever walked here did not know how to hide, did not know how to move like a hunter. The hermit narrowed his eyes. From the shadows between the tall roots, a figure appeared. She stumbled forward, almost falling. Her skin was pale and glowing faintly in the dim light. Her hair, long and silver blue, flowed like water. Her armor was golden, broken at the edges, burned and scratched. She looked like no traveler, no warrior. She looked like royalty. The hermit's hand tightened on the blade. He did not move. He only watched. The figure fell on her knees, then to the ground. Her breath was weak. Her hands pressed against a deep wound on her side. Her lips trembled, and then she whispered a word. The hermit froze. The word was his name, a name he had not spoken in years, a name no one in this jungle should know. His eyes widened. How could this alien, this princess, know his name? The jungle was silent again, but his peace was gone, shattered. The hermit stood still, his blade tight in his hand. The alien princess lay before him, her golden armor cracked, her silver blue hair covered with dirt, her glowing skin marked with blood. She looked fragile, yet she carried the air of someone important, someone from another world. He did not move closer. Years of living alone had made him cautious. Trust was dangerous, yet his eyes could not leave her face. She whispered again, his name, her voice weak, trembling, but clear enough to strike deep inside him. No one here should know that name. No one. Slowly, the hermit stepped forward. He crouched near her body. Her breath was shallow, her wound bleeding. He saw strange patterns carved into her armor, symbols glowing faintly. Not human, not tribal, something old, something powerful. He pressed his lips together, unsure. The princess opened her eyes, bright as liquid silver. They met his eyes, and for a moment, it felt like she was looking not at his face, but into his soul. She whispered, "I found you." Then her head fell to the side, her body too weak to hold. The hermit hesitated. His mind screamed to leave her. She was not his problem. She was not part of his life. He had left the world behind. Yet something in her voice, something in her eyes, kept him from walking away. He lifted her carefully, her armor heavy, her body light, carrying her back to his small hut. The jungle around him seemed to grow louder, the night creatures restless, as if the forest itself knew something had changed. Inside the hut, He laid her down on the rough bed. He cleaned her wound with old cloth. The blood shimmered strangely under the firelight, not like human blood, darker, thicker, almost glowing. He shook his head, whispering to himself, "What are you?" Her lips moved again. Though she was half asleep, she whispered of a kingdom far away, a palace of light, a war she barely escaped. Her words broke apart, but one sentence was clear: "They are coming." The hermit froze, his eyes narrowed. Coming? Who? He listened closely, but she had fallen into deep sleep, her chest rising and falling weakly. That night, he could not rest. He sat by the fire, his blade in his hand, his eyes on the door, his mind heavy. He had chosen silence. He had chosen exile. But now fate had brought an alien princess to his door, calling his name, warning of danger. Outside, the jungle whispered. The wind carried strange vibrations, and far away, beyond the trees, faint lights moved in the darkness, cold, mechanical, searching. The hermit's peace was broken, and something far greater than his lonely life was about to begin. The hermit sat by the fire, his blade in his hand, his eyes never leaving the sleeping alien princess. The night outside was restless, the jungle alive with strange sounds, but his mind was louder than all of it. At dawn, the princess opened her eyes again, weak but determined, her silver gaze fixed on him. She tried to sit. Pain twisted her face, but her voice was steady. "You must listen," she said. The hermit stayed silent, watching. She took a deep breath and spoke of her world, a kingdom of crystal towers, skies filled with light, a royal family ruling for centuries. But betrayal had come. Her father the king had been slain, her people scattered, armies of machines sent to hunt her. She said she escaped through an ancient portal hidden in the jungle, a secret known only to the royal bloodline. Her eyes burned as she added, "And it brought me here, to you, because you are the only one who can help." The hermit laughed bitterly, the sound harsh in the quiet hut. "I am no savior," he said. "I am no soldier anymore." But her gaze did not move. Her words struck harder than any blade. "You are the one from the prophecy, the solitary human, the protector of the star-born heir." His hands tightened around the blade. His heart resisted, but deep inside, something shifted, something old and buried. Before he could speak, the air outside trembled, a low hum, steady, growing louder. The princess sat up in fear, her glowing hand clutching his arm. "They have found me," she whispered. The hermit stepped outside. The rising sun painted the jungle gold, but beyond the trees, he saw lights moving, cold blue lights, mechanical drones gliding through the air, their wings sharp, their eyes red, scanning, searching. The hermit's jaw tightened. He had lived in silence for years, but silence was ending. The princess joined him, still weak but standing, her armor broken yet shining faintly. Her voice carried both fear and certainty. "If they take me, your world will burn too." The hermit's eyes narrowed. He looked at the jungle he once called safe, and then at the princess who spoke his name. The choice was gone. His life of peace was gone. The hunt had begun. The jungle shook with sound. The low hum of drones grew louder, their red eyes glowing like fireflies of death. The hermit stood tall, his blade ready. The alien princess leaned against the wooden wall of his hut, her strength fading, but her eyes sharp. The first drone appeared between the trees, its metallic wings slicing the air, its body dark silver, its weapons glowing. It scanned the ground with a beam of red light, searching, hunting. The hermit knew he had only seconds. "Stay down," he whispered, his voice calm but cold. He moved silently into the jungle, his body blending with shadows. Years of survival had made him part of the forest. He crouched low, waited, and then struck. His rusted blade slashed against the drone's neck joint. Sparks exploded. The machine screeched and fell. But the sound carried, and more drones turned, their wings beating faster, their beams sweeping through the trees. The princess gasped as she saw the swarm, not one or two, but dozens, flying in formation. The hermit's eyes narrowed. He had faced armies before, but never alone. He grabbed her hand, pulling her into the deep forest. Roots twisted underfoot. Vines hung heavy. Branches clawed at their clothes. Behind them the drones fired beams of light, Trees burned. Smoke rose. The jungle screamed. The hermit moved fast, his memory guiding him to old traps he had set, pits hidden under leaves, vines tied to stones. When a drone came too close, he kicked a branch. A heavy rock dropped from above, crushing the machine to pieces. Another trap released spikes from the ground, tearing metal wings apart. The princess watched, her breath heavy, her silver eyes wide. She had never seen a human move like this. Every motion was sharp, precise, deadly. She realized this man was not only a hermit. He was something more, something dangerous. They reached a narrow river, water rushing. The hermit pushed her across first, then leaped after her. Behind them the drones fired, beams of red tearing the water into steam. The princess stumbled, but the hermit caught her, his hand strong, his grip unshaking. They found a cave hidden in the cliffside, dark and deep. The hermit led her inside. The drones circled above, their beams unable to pierce the stone. Silence returned for a moment, broken only by the sound of their breathing. Inside the cave, the hermit lit a torch. Its fire revealed walls covered in strange carvings, glowing faintly, human letters mixed with alien symbols. The princess touched the stone, her face pale, her voice trembling. "This is not my people's work," she whispered. "This is older. This is human." The hermit froze, his torchlight shaking slightly. How could there be human writing here, on a world no human had claimed? The princess turned to him, her silver eyes reflecting the fire. "Now you understand," she said softly. "You were never meant to be alone. You were meant to be here." The hermit stared at the carvings, his heart heavy, his mind storming. Outside, the hum of drones returned, louder, closer. The cave was no longer safe, but what it held inside was far more dangerous than the machines outside. The torchlight flickered against the stone walls. Strange carvings stretched from floor to ceiling. The hermit moved closer, his eyes tracing the shapes. They were not random marks. They were words, words in human language, mixed with symbols he did not know. His chest tightened, his hands shook slightly. The princess watched him, her face pale, her voice low. "These ruins are older than my kingdom," she whispered. "Older than my people. This place was waiting for you." The hermit pressed his hand against the stone. The surface felt warm, alive, as if it had been waiting for his touch. The carvings glowed brighter. Lines of light spread across the walls. The ground trembled under their feet. The princess gasped, stepping back, her silver eyes wide. Images formed on the walls, shadows of warriors, human warriors, standing with alien kings, fighting side by side against armies of machines. The hermit's jaw clenched. He saw himself in their shapes, not his face, but his kind, humanity. The princess whispered. The prophecy spoke of a guardian, a solitary human, one who would rise when the stars fell into darkness, one who would protect the starborn heir. She placed her hand on her chest, her voice breaking. "I am that heir." The hermit shook his head, his voice harsh. "No, I left that life behind. I chose silence. I chose exile." But even as he spoke, the walls burned with brighter light, showing him visions of battles, victories, losses, and finally a lone figure standing before an army, holding back the storm. The ground rumbled louder. A hidden door opened at the back of the cave. Inside was a chamber glowing with blue fire. In its center stood a strange weapon, old yet untouched by time, a staff of metal and crystal, carved with the same human words. The hermit stepped closer, his fingers brushing the weapon. It felt heavy, powerful, alive. He pulled his hand back quickly, his heart racing. The princess's voice trembled with awe. "It is yours. It belongs to the one chosen." Before he could answer, the jungle outside exploded with noise. The hum of engines, the march of heavy steps, not just drones this time, but soldiers, armored, armed, moving with deadly precision. Their voices echoed in the dark, mechanical and cold. The hermit's grip tightened on his old blade. His eyes shifted to the weapon in the chamber. His past screamed at him to run, but his heart told him his peace was already gone. The princess stood beside him, weak but unbroken, her silver gaze steady. "If we fall here, both my world and yours will burn." The hermit looked at the glowing weapon once more, his reflection shining in its crystal surface. He had lived as a ghost, but fate was calling him back to war. And outside, the enemy was almost at the cave's mouth. The cave shook as heavy steps echoed closer. The hermit stood with his old blade in hand, the alien princess beside him, her breath uneven but her eyes burning with fire. Outside, soldiers with black armor and glowing red visors advanced, their weapons ready, their movements sharp and merciless. The hermit's heart pounded. He looked at the weapon in the chamber again, the staff of metal and crystal, glowing like fire trapped in ice. It called to him. But fear whispered in his ear, fear of becoming the soldier he once was, fear of becoming the killer he once swore never to be. The princess placed her trembling hand on his arm, her voice steady despite her weakness. You cannot run. Not anymore. They will not stop with me. They will not stop with this world. They will hunt everything, until nothing remains. The hermit closed his eyes for a breath, then released his old blade. The sound of metal hitting the ground echoed through the cave. His hand reached for the staff, and when his fingers wrapped around it, the cave lit up like a sunrise. The carvings on the wall blazed. The ground hummed with power. The princess gasped as the staff pulsed with life, bonding to him, choosing him. The soldiers stormed inside, their weapons firing beams of burning red. The hermit raised the staff. A shield of light burst forth. The beams scattered. The walls shook but held. His eyes narrowed. His body moved with strength he thought he had lost. He struck forward. The staff unleashed a wave of blue energy. 3 soldiers flew back, their armor cracking, sparks exploding. The princess watched in awe, her lips whispering words of prophecy. But the enemy was endless. Wave after wave poured into the cave, drones flying above, soldiers charging below, explosions echoing. The hermit fought, his staff cutting through metal, his body moving like a storm. Every strike was precise, every motion filled with fury. Still, he was only one man. His breath grew heavy, his arms burned, his body weakened. The staff glowed brighter as if feeding on his will, but his strength was not infinite. The princess stepped forward, raising her hands. Silver light burst from her palms, forming a shield that covered him. Her power was real, but it drained her quickly. Together they fought, human and alien, hermit and air, their powers joined, their wills unbroken. Yet the enemy pressed harder, their numbers growing, their machines unending. At last, silence fell for a moment. Smoke filled the cave, broken machines burned, shattered armor scattered. But outside, more lights gathered, louder engines, stronger soldiers waiting. The hermit leaned on the staff, sweat running down his face, his voice low but sharp. If we stay, we die. The princess, her body shaking, met his eyes. If we run, the galaxy dies. The hermit's heart was torn, his body exhausted, but he saw the fire in her eyes, the fire of a leader, a survivor, a princess who carried a world on her shoulders. He straightened his back, his grip firm on the staff, his voice steady. Then we fight. Outside, the enemy prepared for their final assault, and deep inside the ruins, the ancient walls began to tremble, revealing secrets still hidden. The true battle had only begun. The ruins shook like a living heart. The ancient walls split. Blue fire burst from hidden cracks. The staff in the hermit's hands glowed brighter than the sun. The princess stood beside him, her silver light shimmering like a fragile flame. Together they faced the mouth of the cave where an army gathered. The enemy soldiers marched forward, their weapons glowing, their drones circling like vultures. The jungle itself seemed to bow in silence. Waiting for the storm, the hermit raised the staff. The princess lifted her trembling hands, and the battle began. The first wave rushed in, their metal boots crashing against stone. The hermit struck the staff against the ground. A shock wave of blue light tore through them. Armor cracked, visors shattered, machines screamed and fell, but more kept coming, endless, unbroken. The princess stepped forward, her voice strong, ancient words spilling from her lips. Silver light wrapped around the hermit. His wounds closed, his strength returned. The prophecy was alive in that moment. Not just words on stone, but fire in their blood. The battle raged like thunder. Every strike of the staff unleashed storms. Every gesture of the princess bent the light itself. Together they were no longer hermit and heir. They were warrior and queen, protector and flame. At last, the leader of the enemy stepped forth, taller than the rest, armored in black with eyes burning like two suns. His voice echoed cold and sharp. You were meant to fade, human, yet here you stand, defying destiny. The hermit tightened his grip, his voice calm but fierce. Destiny is not yours to write. And with one final cry, he drove the staff forward. Blue fire clashed with red. The ruins shook as if the world itself split apart. Light swallowed everything. When the smoke cleared, silence filled the cave. Broken machines lay scattered. The enemy was gone. The staff dimmed, its purpose fulfilled. The hermit dropped to one knee, breath heavy. The princess knelt beside him, her hand gentle on his shoulder, her voice soft. It is over. But the hermit looked at the glowing portal that had opened at the back of the chamber, swirling with light. Beyond it he saw shadows of war, burning skies, and fleets ready for battle, his voice low. No, this is only the beginning. The princess followed his gaze, her face pale but her eyes shining with courage. She whispered, "Then we walk together." The hermit, once broken, once alone, now rose with purpose, his staff in hand, his silence forever shattered. Together they stepped toward the portal, not into peace, but into destiny.